Hey guys, so it's been 6 years of me running my farm, and I can tell you that I've been quite successful with the farm. The one thing that would certainly though have guaranteed that I'll never be here would have been if I had never started the farm. If I had sat down planning, thinking about starting the farm and hoping that one day I'll start the farm and I'll make millions of dollars, make a lot of money, get wealthy, maybe quit my job and just sit down and enjoy and be happy, which is actually what's happening right now. If I'd just done that and just kept it in my mind and planned and planned and planned, I wouldn't be here right now. Maybe I would have started a year ago and I would be 5 years behind. Time is one thing that's of essence. The most important asset that you do have in life is time, because time, once lost, is never gained back. Now, in today's video, the thing that I'm going to be telling you about is to start now. I'm going to be hoping that by the end of this video, you're actually going to pick yourself up and go and start that farm and stop planning, because you've most probably planned enough. Just start the farm, get it running, and start your process of developing and actually getting financial freedom. So stick around right through to the very end if that is you. Just in case you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Daniel, a retired medical doctor who is very passionate about poultry farming. I started farming about 6 years ago, and since then I've been able to amass quite a number of farms and quite an amount of land. I do goats, sheep, cattle, chickens. I have a few turkeys and things like geese and guinea fowls, but those are really minor. But most of you do know me for poultry farming. So if this is your very first time on the channel, come on, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell, that way you never miss out on an upload. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 4 main reasons as to why you're most probably procrastinating. The 4 main reasons that you utilize to justify you not starting. Because if you're not starting, it's not because you just don't want to start. Of course, you don't want to start. I mean, that's the main thing. But you're giving yourself most likely one of 4 excuses. And the goal for me in this video is to break down those excuses and let you know that those excuses actually don't matter. If you want to start, you can actually start right now. And I'll actually be giving you some examples, which might actually be myself. Yeah. So the first one is money. And when it does come to money, your biggest complaint is, Doc, I don't have enough money. I don't think I have enough money to start up a farm. I need to save up way more and get more money to start a farm. And I mean, it's a very, very valid point. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, at least in our heads. It does make a lot of sense. When I started out my farm, I had saved about $3,000, and that helped me build my very first chicken house. And then I got a bit more money, and since I was working as a doctor and I was earning a salary, I got a bit more money. I think at that time my salary was about $800, everything put together. So it wouldn't take me so long for me to get $3,000, just a few months of saving. I'd cut down my expenses to very, very, very little, yeah, at that time. So it was quite easy for me to get to $3,000. Maybe in 4 or something months of saving, I would have gotten to $3,000. Now, what happened is that I built a chicken house that has the capacity to take up to 1,500 or even 2,000 chickens, depending on the stocking density that I utilize. Now, when I was starting out, I initially had a plan of starting with 500 chickens, but then I thought to myself, well, I think is so little. Let me go down to 750, and then after that I told myself, no, I want to do 1,000. Now I ended up starting with 750 because my dad gave me counsel and he told me, I think 1,000 is too much for you to start. So I settled down with 750. At that time, someone had made for me a calculation of how much money I would require to feed the birds. And I remember at that time we calculated the price of maize to be 600 Ugandan shillings per kilo. I'm using Ugandan shillings, yeah? I mean, to avoid making the quick calculation in my head. What happened though is that by the time I started, I think I was paying about 900 Ugandan shillings, and later on that price rose to about 1,300. That was more than twice the price that I considered to start with. So in the end, what ended up happening is that I started my farm with 750 birds. My goal was to start with 1,000. I started with 750 birds reluctantly, but then I really struggled to feed them. So I had to borrow money and all these kinds of things. Looking back in retrospect, I feel like 700 was like the perfect number because it was just out of my comfort zone. 1,000, I would never have made it. I would certainly have lost money. 500 birds would have been perfect, but it wouldn't have strained me enough. So 750 was probably perfect for me. But if I had just considered and started with 500 chickens, if I had just built a chicken house at that point that only takes 500 chickens, and then I had started with 500 chickens, I would have started with a lot of comfort. Or I probably would even have started much earlier than before, yeah? So you probably have a goal in your head, and that goal is maybe, start with, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. You have a goal for the kind of farm that you want to start. I want to tell you that you can actually start a bit smaller, and starting a bit smaller but earlier gives you way more advantages than you will ever know. Way more advantages. You're going to learn, understand the mistakes and everything over that time, and by the time you get the money to actually get things big, you've actually had a lot of rehearsal, and it's very easy for you to expand. Yeah, the problem is that while you're waiting and hoping that you're going to get this money that's going to help you start with, I don't know, 2,000 baht, you're actually not starting and you're doing nothing about it. Yeah, you're just hoping that at some point you're going to have the money. And I mean, with life and all the consistent problems that keep coming up, you're going to get this emergency, that emergency, all these kinds of emergencies. It's very probable that you might never end up starting, because you just won't get to the $10,000 that you're hoping to utilize. Yeah, you just won't get it. Once you get to $8,000, you have someone pass on. Once you get to $6,000, you have your car get an accident. Once you get to all these things, all that becomes a problem. So money is never the problem. You can start small, but the second thing is that you can get creative. So instead of thinking of resources, think of resourcefulness. Yeah, how can I get around this problem? So you probably think to yourself, you want to start with drinkers, just like mine, automated drinkers. Well, I didn't start with automated drinkers. I was just cutting jerry cans and, you know, utilizing jerry cans to make drinkers. That probably saved me, because currently I pay about 50,000 shillings per drinker. With that system, I would have paid 10,000. So that's just a fifth of the price that it would cost you. Yeah. So instead of spending, let's say, $100 on drinkers, you can spend $20 on drinkers by using the more manual system. So you can think of being resourceful and creative, and also starting a bit smaller. Both those alternatives are 100% better than you never starting. So forget about money. It's not an excuse. Number two, time. So your complaint is that, hey, doc, I don't have enough time. I don't have time to be present and manage the farm and start the farm and run the farm and supervise the farm. Yep, makes a lot of sense. Well, I want to tell you that when I started my farm, I was working as a doctor. And as you might understand, doctors are some of the busiest people that you will ever have. But I started my farm as a doctor, yeah? So what you need to understand is that with adulting and with growing up, unless you have a lot of money, you're never going to get less time. The advantage of having money is that money gives you the freedom to have free time, yeah? I mean, it's a Thursday right now, Thursday morning, maybe 9 a.m. It's quite bright, meanwhile, for 9 a.m. But yeah, it's about 9 a.m. And I'm recording a video on the farm. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to be anywhere. This is work for me. Yeah, why? Because I've gotten the money that can give me the comfort. Yeah, I can record a video for you guys on a Thursday morning without worrying about my boss complaining that I've arrived late at work or something like that. Yeah, I don't need to worry about that because I do have the money. Now think about it. There you are thinking that since you don't have time, you can't start a farm or a business which is actually meant to give you the money so that you can have time. Think about it. Does it even make any sense? Yeah. So actually, if you're at the point where you don't have time, that should even give you more reason to want to start the farm sooner. Because the farm, at least if you're considering the farm to be the business that's going to give you freedom, is the only way that you're actually going to be making that money. Yeah. It's the only way that you're going to be able to get free time later on. Yeah. I mean, as long as you don't have the money to buy your time, what's going to end up happening is that you just got to keep working more and more and more. And with age, the more you grow, the more busy you get and all these things, the more likely it is that you're going to have to work harder, and then the less time you're going to have. Then you're going to have kids, then you're going to have all these other responsibilities. You won't have less and less time, yeah? So then what does that mean? You need to get creative with your time. Like I've said, yeah? If you don't have time, then you even have more reason to make sure that you create time for the farm, because that's how you're going to get free time. Just like I did. So then, how do you do this? Number one, you've got to be resourceful, yeah? And by being resourceful, most likely you're going to have to hire people, yeah? So you're going to have to pay for other people's time. If you can't be present, if the one thing that you're 100% sure of is that you can't be present, then you're going to have to pay for people's time, yeah? So get people around, people who can be trained. I personally, when I was starting out, I had one person, and I had my grandmother around at that time, and my grandmother would help me supervise, you know, this person and all these kinds of things. I would give her instructions, we should pass on, and then every time I would get free time, I would come onto the farm, yeah? The other thing that you need to realize, though, is that we actually have way more time than we think we do, yeah? I mean, you guys are my subscribers, so there's nothing wrong with you feeling offended. Just consider the amount of time that you spend on social media a day. Yeah, just think about it. The amount of time you spend chatting, calling people or watching a movie. I mean, just the amount of time you spend watching a movie, because an average movie will probably be 90 minutes, yeah? So let's say 90 minutes. If you watch 2 movies a week, that's 3 hours that you're going to be saving yourself. 3 hours that you can actually spend on the farm and do actual stuff. If you consider the amount of time you spend on your phone, yeah, 60 minutes every day. Most people spend way more than 60 minutes. People spend, 4-5 hours on their phone every day. But imagine you could just get off 60 minutes to dedicate that to the farm or the business, yeah, you'd most likely be making it. So we actually do have way more time than we actually do imagine, and that is the honest truth. You guys just don't want it bad enough, so you choose to spend time on your phone, you choose to spend time watching a movie, you choose to spend time watching terrible things like news. Can you imagine? Yeah, instead of building your business, you spend time watching news of which like 95% of everything that's on news is terrible. Yeah, they're telling you about who died, this one killed this one, the economy is coming down and all these things. And those things are actually just scaring you and preventing you from starting the farm. They're telling you how war is breaking out in your country. So, I mean, you even get more scared. You're like, no, I'm going to start the farm and then war will come and they're going to take everything. You're like, no, I just won't start. Yeah, I mean, you want to get positive stuff. So forget about the news, forget about all, movies, social media and everything, and actually spend time on the business, spend time on the farm. Now, once you start the farm, I personally can spend time watching a movie. I don't really watch movies. I can spend time on social media. I do spend time on social media, but I spend time on social media creating content for people. Yeah, so not really consuming. Most of the time, it's me giving the content, and that provides value for me and value for other people, and that's more likely to bring money into my pockets. Yeah, so you need to make sure that you build that discipline up. So again, time is no excuse. Get resourceful with the time, and also understand that if you actually sit down critically and look in your hearts of hearts, you actually do have way more time than you actually think you do have. Excuse number 3 is knowledge. Hey doctor, I don't have enough knowledge. I'm still learning. I need to understand the details and everything involved in starting a farm. Now, I'll tell you that when I was starting out my farm, first of all, I got most of my knowledge by simply reading books. Yeah, that's number 1. Number 2, I watched a few YouTube videos. There wasn't too much information, but I'll tell you the honest truth. Most of the information that I have personally gotten has been from experience. Now, unfortunately, that's not the best way of getting information and knowledge, because you pay a really big price for it. Yeah, you pay a really, really big price for it. But if that's the only price to pay for you to actually be successful, it's a price worth paying. You understand? For example, if I didn't start because I was worried and thinking about getting knowledge, I most probably wouldn't be here. I certainly wouldn't be here. I would still be gathering information and knowledge. I don't know where I'm from, because I mean, I believe I was one of, like, the flag bearers, the people who went ahead to try and put information about farming and all these things on YouTube. Even if you look outside there, you're not going to find so many channels just like this one. Yeah, a lot of people will give you information, but not critical information that's going to ensure the success of your farm. Yeah, now, I started that, but if I didn't start, I most probably wouldn't be here. Yeah, I would never have been there. So what I want to tell you is that the experience is going to be a very good teacher. Yeah, very, very good teacher. Experience is a better teacher than you completely not starting. And I'll give you an example. I bought 1,000 birds, brought them onto the farm, and they didn't perform well. They got fall typhoid. I learned a lot through that experience, especially on the side of biosecurity. I learned a very, very, very great deal from that experience. If I had not, taught myself, if I had not told myself that, hey, you need to make sure that, you implement this and implement these factors and all these things, I would most probably still be making the same mistakes right now, and I wouldn't identify what the problem is. Yeah, the only reason I was able to do that is because I had that experience. So trust me, instead of you sitting there and waiting to get the knowledge, if you have nowhere else to get the knowledge, then get the knowledge from experience. But you guys are also lucky, yeah? I mean, recently I've been working on the Farm Up Academy. On the Farm Up Academy, I actually have quite a number of students inside there. And in the Farm Up Academy, I teach you guys how to start and build a poultry farm. Whether it's a layer poultry farm or a broiler poultry farm, it doesn't matter the system. I've put together a course which is in the Farm Up Academy, where you can start and build a profitable poultry farm. Now, this is not something that I had the advantage of getting way back then. And if I had such an option, I would have taken it up any day, because for what you pay to get the knowledge, it's way more worth to get that knowledge than the mistakes that you would have gone through. Yeah, so I had to learn through experience. It's not the best thing, but I had to utilize it, but you don't have learned through experience. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to leave a link to the Farm Up Academy in the description of this video. You can check it out, and that way you can join the Farm Up Academy. You're literally going to take off years, I mean a lot of years of your training for you to start a farm. For me, it took me maybe 2-3 years for me to learn from my mistakes. Most other people don't even ever learn from their mistakes. I know a lot of farmers who it requires 10 years. Sometimes some of them even never learn at all. They just keep making the same mistakes. I've put together templates, videos, all kinds of things. How to formulate your feed, how to do biosecurity, how to actually manage the farm workers. Everything is in the Farm Up Academy. Just check it below and save yourself that hassle. And finally, number 4, fear. Yeah, I mean, fear is the big boss in the room that a lot of people go through. Yeah, so some of you are actually out there. You have the money, you have the time, and you've watched a lot of my videos. You have quite an amount of knowledge. And the only thing you're worried about is fear. Fear of what? Fear of anything. Fear of how will people say that I'm looking after chickens? I mean, I'm a pilot, I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor. How do I tell people that I'm looking after chickens? What the hell? I mean, my parents left the village. They were looking after chickens. How do I? What if I lose my money? I know a lot of people whose farms have failed. What if I lose money? Just what if I lose my money? Yeah? So that form of fear, or will I really figure it out? It's possible that Dr. Daniel is just lying to us. It's a hoax. What he's saying can't be true. You have a fear of something, whatever the fear it is. Hey guys, unfortunately, there's no way to overcome fear by actually going and doing the thing. Yeah? You just need to look fear in the eye and tell it, damn you fear, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm actually going to step outside there and take the first step. Fear usually goes away by you doing something. Once you do something, you get the approval that you can actually do it. For me, when I was starting out my farm, I was so lucky that my very first flock actually performed well. That flock had a very huge role in taking fear out of my heart. Yeah, and so I performed well with the first flock, at least in terms of output. My expenses and everything were really terrible, but I got good results from the flock. And because of that, when the second flock of birds got really sick, and I mean I lost a lot of money, I could literally look fear in the eye and tell it, to hell with you, fear. I know I've made it before, I can make it again. You understand? Why? Because I've made it before. Yeah. So this experience of you actually beating something and succeeding literally just kills all fear in you. So the only way you can overcome fear is you going outside there and starting. Sitting down, waiting is just not going to overcome fear for you. It doesn't matter how many motivational people you listen to, you're not going to change anything about it. The only way you do it is by actually doing the thing that you fear. And once you do it and actually notice that, oh, you haven't died, nothing has happened, life is actually going on well, you're going to be surprised and you're going to have the great results. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.